Meanwhile, the presidential candidate of the Accord Party in next year's general elections, Christopher Imomalen, has been named the Educationist of the Year 2022. The academic renowned for his advocacy in the field of learning emerged the winner in the education category in a ceremony at Transcorp Hilton, Abuja. Professor Imomalen was recognized for his exemplary achievement of initiating models aimed at upgrading the standard of education in Nigeria, as well as his commitment to helping indigent, less privileged students through school with scholarships. Professor Imomalen joins me on the news. Thank you so much for joining us this time. I say congratulations on your award. So let's quickly talk about the proffering solutions to education sector in Nigeria. Ahead of 2023 election, these are some of the things that presidential candidates are bringing to the table, saying these are the things that I'm going to do differently. What exactly are you looking at to, seeing as a problem in the education sector, and what solutions are there for you?
First and foremost, it starts by understanding what education means to the nation's development, what it means to educate your people. Education by itself means transforming the mind of Nigeria, building Nigerians to be able to solve our peculiar problems, and also to be able to stand internationally and compete internationally. So having understand that, the value that comes with that is key. For me, for what we've been demonstrating value for education all through the year, with or without politics, and that value is what we're bringing on board to making sure that the most important component factor is educating Nigerians. Once Nigerians are educated, we will be able to produce leaders that have value, leaders that understand where to take us to. So that is why I've always said this. One of my major priority would be education, Once we educate large part of Nigerians, from the north, east, south, look at what is happening to Zamfara. For example, a state like Zamfara, that schools have been shut down for over 2 years. You can imagine what happened. Education is a process of building the mind and making human proper persons to solve problems. Once the process is truncated, it's just like when someone is sick and you prescribe a dosage and you stop halfway, you need to start all over again. Look at challenges we have in house and the rest of them. So what we'll be doing is to ensure that we appropriate adequate funding, and we ensure that this funding gets to the roots of ensuring that we improve our quality of education. We also create hybrid education, ensuring that we now have since the internet discovery, the education has now been a cross-breed system in a way that you digitalize education, so that in locations like Zamfara, where lecturers for oil and gas, for example, are not seen, someone in Lagos can also teach them. So you have citizens that have balanced knowledge. We must also increase our budget funding for education. As we speak today, our budget for education is still less than 10% benchmark of the UNESCO recommendation. I will be budgeting over 22%. A lot of people have questioned that. Why will you budget? Education is very important. Once we educate Nigeria, look at the challenge we have even in this election. Once you educate your people, you'll be able to think aright to solve our problems. Our medical sector, engineering sector, every sector of our economy.
Right. There are more than 20 million out of school children, in the country as we speak. Some of them as a result of maybe poverty, and some of their parents do not necessarily value the essence of education. So how would you be able to speak to the people who do not value or who do not see any reason to go to school, to broaden your horizon? Because it starts from there. So what exactly do you think it's needed to be done to tackle this, scourge?
Yeah, education by itself is broken down into formal, informal, and non-formal education. So it's not just about the formal education, which is the school system. We also need to look at the parent. What is the parent passing along to their children? Also, what is the environment feeding the Nigerian populace, controlling the media to ensure that Nigerians get the right form of knowledge to drive Nigeria itself. So we'll be looking at the three forms of education and ensure that first we have the right content. When you talk about curriculum, we're talking about the formal education. Then right content for all of the sector of education. Then once we've been able to do that, we encourage free education. I still believe that Nigeria is an underdeveloped country, education should be made, especially for primary and secondary level, free for its people. We must get the funding to educate our people. If we believe that education is expensive, we are going to try ignorance. At the end of the day, we have Nigerians who cannot develop Nigeria. That's what we are doing currently. There is not too much money, too much for you to educate your people. Nigerians are our children. We are all one. So we must, and we begin to enforce laws that would also criminalize parents who do not value education. It's about our future. It's about where Nigeria is going to. And if we don't take this thing seriously, believe me, we leave problem for the future generation to battle. So we should do it in our own time. And that is what we're committed to do.
Well, it's good to hear from a presidential candidate who is actually a product of the academia. Thank you so much for coming on the news this time. Professor Imomalen, a presidential candidate of the Accord Party in the 2023 elections. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.